The Northern Lights is something that I have wanted to see my entire life, and I finally got to see them when we were in Iceland. And today we're going to paint them. And painting them today, we're actually going to learn a little something about watercolor because it uses a really handy technique. Grab your watercolors and give them a good spritz. And the technique we're going to use today is called a drip line technique. And in order to do this technique, you want to make sure that you have lots of the colors that you're going to be using mixed up. Now for this painting, I mixed up a super dark blue color, a bright green color, and then a bit of a teal color. And for this technique to work the way that we want it to, you want to make sure that you can move your paper around, actually maybe even holding it or resting it up against something, because one of the tools we're going to be using today is gravity. And the drip line technique is actually done on dry paper. So this is going to be a wet on dry technique. And this technique is perfect for kind of creating those bands of color that the Northern Lights have, because we can actually kind of control the way that the color is dripping down. So to paint the Northern Lights, what we're going to do is we want to take our super dark blue color. We're going to fill our brush with as much of it as it can possibly hold. We're going to make a line across the top of the page, holding this at an angle so that it forms a line of a drip at the bottom of that line. I'm going to refill my brush, and then I'm going to kind of start to define the top shape of those Northern Lights. They often kind of form in these ribbons, so I'm going to do a bit of a step down, making sure that at the bottom of my line there's that little bead of water because I want to be able to pull that down. Then I'm going to wash my brush and I'm going to dip into that bright green color, filling it as much as I possibly can, and I'm going to rest my brush on my page, holding my page at an angle, and I'm going to allow just the tip of my brush to touch that bead from above, and I'm going to pull that down. And just look how that color flows down. Now I want this band of Northern Lights to be a bit thicker, so I am going to refill my brush with that bright green color, and I'm going to make another stripe below it. If you want to get a little fancy and add some variation into your Northern Light colors, I'm going to wash my brush, and then I'm going to grab this light tealy blue color, and I'm going to make a very thin line. Then I'm going to wash my brush and fill it with that super dark blue color, and I'm going to just touch to that drip line, and I'm going to be pulling that down, grabbing more and more of that color depending on how thick of these bands I want them to be. And painting the Northern Lights is kind of like a choose your own adventure. You could focus on one big band of that color that then just transitions back into the night sky color. Or if you wanted multiple bands, you could switch back and forth between those light and dark colors, adding in as many bands as you like. Watching the watercolor move across the page is almost reminiscent of the Northern Lights in person. It's not quite as spectacular as seeing them in person, but it is still beautiful to watch. And with just 3 colors and 1 technique, you're able to paint the Northern Lights with watercolor.